Okay, welcome to our webinar, Supercharge Your Manufacturing 5S Process with AI. I'm going to turn it over to Michael Lynch, who is the co-founder and CEO of Praxie and an expert in manufacturing process digitization and AI. So Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Warren. Hi, guys. What we're going to be talking about today is how to supercharge your manufacturing 5S processes with AI. And what I'm going to be talking about actually applies to lots of different lean processes and how AI is affecting those. A little bit about myself. I've been doing enterprise software now for about 25 years. My last company we sold to SAP, and then we were in the supply chain and manufacturing group at SAP. We did all of the 3D visualization of the manufacturing CAD parts, sectioning, illustrations, all those kinds of things. And then I was promoted to run the Industry 4.0 group for a couple of years prior to starting Praxie. And a little bit of background here on us. Our team's been doing a lot of this stuff with lots of customers in this zone. I'll try to, although I'm from Praxie, I'm really going to try to focus on how AI can be used in any process, regardless of your software provider. And for those of you who have been on the shop floor, these pictures I'm showing here are quite familiar, I assume. If you're running lots of lean processes, they were, developed by Toyota and others, and they have a lot of large kind of boards and things that are designed and built. But primarily, you see these non-digital, or what we call paper or digital paper, the ubiquitous Excel. And what the transformation to digitization does is it moves a lot of these lean processes into the digital realm. And if you think about AI, that's critical. And so we'll talk about that, how to do digitization and how to do it and enable it with AI. We provide lots of these different solutions across different lean processes and are embedding AI across the board. We think it has a huge transformational effect. We provide, and I'll get past Praxie here in a second, we provide a full stack solution that works on an ISA 95 stack, integrates with lots of your solutions, can bring in machine data, and provides an application layer that I'm going to show you as how, in a demonstration on how we are adding AI into these processes. So let's get started on that. From the standpoint of AI and how you can embed it, we're going to use 5S as an example, but the point is that it can be embedded across your portfolio of process improvement. We're going to talk about traditional 5S implementation and value propositions of doing it, the implications of AI and digital transformation. We're going to show you how modern 5S can be integrated into a more AI-driven process operating system. I'll demonstrate that, and then we can have a little bit of a QA if you guys are interested in talking about it. So jumping on to, what 5S is, I assume you guys have had some exposure to it. I'm not a lean expert. I'm more of a software person, but have had a lot of exposure to it. It's a methodology that basically deconstructs the workspace, makes it much more clean, efficient to work with. It has the 5 S's stand for sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. There are the Japanese lean words that go with this as well. But what it is it's a 5-part process to really improve the working order of a station. And if you do it cyclically, you improve over time. It addresses financial waste, et cetera. But it also has implications to quality, to safety, and I would say overall culture. 5S can move from a station that looks like this to a station that looks like this, and that has cultural implications beyond the safety and quality of the products being made. So that's what 5S is about. It's one of many lean methodologies that you can implement, but it has a huge impact on those items I talked about. It tends to be implemented with training, and there are lots of terrific consultants that do this. We have some on our team as well, but there are terrific resources online to do the 5S training. So the change management starts with training your team around 5S, and then traditionally you'll end up with paper or digital paper, as we call it here, processes to track it. One of the main points that we want to talk about is you can't really use AI if you're running your processes in paper, digital paper. The manual processes, aren't integrated to a network. They're not collaborative. They're clunky, and you guys, all of us have worked with Excel sitting in SharePoint, and it's just not an environment that is conducive to collaborative change management. And companies not choosing to go digital are not able to really adapt to these new technologies like AI, and it's prone to outdated data. So I want to just highlight this point here. You can't use AI when you're running on paper. It's probably the largest transformation technologically in our lifetime since cell phones. We think that is the case. We're not 100% sure these things are changing, but you can't really adopt or use these solutions if you're running on paper or digital paper. So if you move to AI, what are the implications? So we're going to show you how 5S and AI can be integrated into a solution that provides a workflow to capture your AI auditing and use, your 5S auditing, excuse me, and then use AI as part of the process to address issues. By digitization, you remove these office sort of bad collaborative environments and really transform into an environment that provides insights, itemized workspace layouts, predictive maintenance, all the kinds of stuff that allow you the benefits of digitization as well as AI. And I'll talk a little bit more as we go through the demonstration about how AI can really help be a co-pilot to your team. So I'll jump in to demonstrate just for a few minutes on our platform and how we're embedding AI. This is just a general view of some of the work we do. We have processes that run across all these different areas, including 5S. I'm going to jump into the 5S audit system. And this is a simple little application to doing 5S and can roll up into that command center that I talked about. On the left here, it has the traditional. I'm just going to show you how the system works. And in the context of what I'm showing you, in each system you choose, I'll show you how the AI can be embedded and how that can really help your team. So in each of these cases, you have, who's the auditor, what line is it going to be on, where's the station, the date of the audit, and then you have under sort any number of these items that you want to be able to track whether, in the sort standpoint, this particular station is doing a good job. So is the workstation cluttered with unnecessary pallets, raw materials, drums, etc.? And then over here, you rate the station on how they're doing. And I've been working with a lot of lean experts. You want to be cautious with this. I mean, you don't want to be giving people complete reds unless it's a disaster. So there's just from a process standpoint, you want to be encouraging here, but you don't want to give people greens if they're doing poorly or it's not up to speed. But basically, you rate each of these, and then you can put the evidence of these in each of the evidence of this criteria of why you're doing this. And the reason this is important is your 5S is a list that you can go back to in our system. It generates, you can query, you can do this cyclically. So if you're doing a round table of different stations each week, picking a station one a week, you basically have the history of this gets saved in the system. You then can go to set, shine, etc. And each of these has their own standardized rating system where you can go through and provide the rating. This gives an overall average score of that 5S. So that gives you a full audit system. And then what you can do in the issues that you raise, so any of those issues you raise, this is where AI can come into the system. So what we've done at Praxie is we've integrated AI into our backend workflow system. So we're connecting with a number of different AIs. And I would say my experience so far is that, and I believe this to be true, you have ChatGPT and Google and others that are going to be coming out with major models. But the trend seems to be that open source models for the large language model is going to be the trend. And if you haven't studied up on this or gotten your head around it, you do have the major players, but the open source community is moving very, very quickly. So my belief is that there'll be a lot of terrific open source models that you can tap into that will not be hugely expensive compared to the larger players, but have maybe even better systems. So we're talking to a number of different systems in the background. So what you do is you enter the problem that might have come from your 5S my 5S auditor, we noted production units, machinery, piping not clearly identified, for instance. And these can be applied to any type of A3 that you might want to be working with. When I click this, it goes out to the AI, and it's doing an analysis based on the information I gave in the A3. This one has been done. I'm not clicking on this only because if you've worked with ChatGPT and these others, it's a 20-second wait for it to do its work, and I just don't want to slow us down to do that. But basically, each one of these moves through the large language model, and it presents a list of possible root causes. What's great about this is the latest research we've read is that the AI is about 2 to 3 times more creative than your average employee on ideas and possible remedies, et cetera. So what this has done is it's listed a potential group of root causes. Now, you can take one of those root causes, put it down here, and then you can add any additional information that you think might be causing the problem. You hit next. The AI then provides you a list of possible solutions. And this is terrific because you're now getting information that you or your team may not have thought of. You again can take the items that you might have interest in, put them down here, add to them, and then it will generate an action plan of things that you can go ahead and do. You can set dates for these, assign them to users, et cetera. So what you have is an AI-based process, a 5S-based process that you can run these cyclically, which is required if you want to make improvement on these. You can then get a full dashboard of your audit scores, your audit breakdowns over time, as well as your trend. We don't have very many records in this, but your trend over time for doing and improving your overall 5S scores. And in addition, you have the problem-solving AI, which helps your employees address the issues that they may have in 5S's or any other A3 type of process you want to drive. So, but what I want to make sure is you guys understand is under this, you want to have basically regardless of the software you choose, you want to have the ability to use AI as a co-pilot for these best practice processes, so that your team not only has the expertise in-house, but can get the expertise that's throughout the internet to help them build best practice processes in addressing any A3 related type of problem. So there's a quick demo. What I'll talk about now is just a little bit on Praxie's website. You can see, if I go back here, if you come to the manufacturing area, you'll see the different solution areas that we offer. And all of these have access to our AI-based workflow system that we built into our processes. So if any of these are of interest to you, obviously reach out and talk to me or any of our team members. And all of those will roll up into these command centers. This is the other thing that's really critical about using AI as well as digitization overall, is that any of these processes as standalone might as well be digital paper if they don't have visibility to the entire team. So you can run these up on SQDC boards, you can run them up on general command centers or what are called Obeya rooms, and get that full visibility to that process improvement to the teams, so that, again, you can drive that culture of transformation and provide people with the data and information they need. So I'm going to pause there, and I think you guys can chat in any questions you might have or comments, and we'll take some Q&A for a few minutes.
Thank you, Michael. I'm looking at the chat. We'll see if anything comes in. In the meantime, how would you describe the viewpoint currently in the manufacturing world around artificial intelligence? A lot of people have seen it as a threat. Other people see it as an opportunity. Everyone's wondering, how do we just get started with it and understanding the implications of it? What's your viewpoint on that?
Well, after being in lots of manufacturers at SAP and lots with Praxie, my experience is that there's generally that AI is not on the big careabouts right now, in that they want to know how to use it. But what I see is generally in a stack at a manufacturing company, you'll have your ERP, your MES, some quality systems, and then a lot of Excel and paper around that. And depending on the manufacturer, they'll have different areas that they're covering well. So general digitization is of the paper or Excel-based things is where they're at today. They generally will have some good solutions. And obviously people on the phone can push back on any of this. but they'll generally have a good layer of solutions. But there's a lot of, in the lean and improvement, process improvement areas, there's a lot of Excel. So what the artificial intelligence is historically been applied to, you know, vibration analysis or the kinds of analysis on machine data and other quality type of information, air codes. This kind of large language model work, which is trying to be a co-pilot, really has not been embedded yet into the ecosystem. So I think we're in this period, and I don't think manufacturing is different than other areas. We're in this period of trying to figure out how to use it in a way that really adds value. One of the things that I have seen that's been really interesting to me is that a lot of this comes down to the quality of the labor and the resources you have on the floor. And generally, a lot of that experience has been walking out the door as people age. And so the ability to provide support to that worker at the point of work, when an error code hits, when something comes up, what do I do? I think there's a huge opportunity to drive AI into that. We're doing that with some customers where a particular error code happens. It shows them the 6 things they should do, works with information that has been captured within the organization as well as on the web for large language models, and provides that worker help at the point of work before they hit the I need support or maintenance to come over here. There's actually things that they can do. And I think providing the worker real help and co-piloting, if you will, at any place along the chain is really where there's a huge opportunity.
Great. Thanks, Michael. And we do have a question about how do you start implementing all of this in a business without digital processes? Is that even possible? How do you think about, you know, an organization that maybe hasn't gone digital yet? How do we get started?
Well, it's you know, it's not as painful as you think. If you have some basic systems, even if you're running things with paper like work orders and things like that, you can take each one of those areas. What we generally do is work, and I think this is, regardless of practice, this is true for anybody trying to solve, how do I start digitizing? Ask yourself in your organization where the biggest pain point is that would benefit, and just focus on that. And take your paper process, let's say it's a work order system or scheduling or something, you know, could be your Gemba walks, could be anything. You take those lean processes and digitize one of them, and focus on that. And you can use our system or any other system that helps you do that. But basically, you solve that process. You try to make the transformation as easy as possible. One of the things we do, and I think it was a good decision, is that we can digitize the forms and the processes you already have. So the worker doesn't have to learn some brand new software and make the worker change to the software. You want to have whatever you're digitizing in adapt to how you already do it, because your culture is already unique. Your team knows how to do it. You're trying to minimize the change. So adopt the software to digitize that process in exactly the form that your team already knows how to use. The difference is, instead of it being an Excel or a piece of paper, it's now a record that can, like the 5S process and the A3 process that's AI enabled, it's now able to be rolled up, collaborated on, actions can be taken, and you just focus, you know, hyper focused on that one solution. You make that transition, and then you go on to the next. So that's how you get started. The second thing I would say, and I think, Soren, you're a PhD in organizational psychology, and so Soren taught me this, that people support what they help create. So in the definition of how the process is going to work, we do that. And if you have another vendor, make sure they do that, works with your team to define the new process. And if they're part of that definition, and you can do this in just a few meetings, it doesn't take a lot of work, but if they're part of that definition, the buy-in is hugely different. And as we all know, software can do anything you want. If nobody wants to use it, it doesn't matter. You can't get your team to change. So this is huge in the transformation process. And so within a couple of weeks, we can, or what other vendor you want, have a up and running digitally transformed process. And you start there, you get a win. Everybody goes, wow, that's really cool. And then you move on to the next phase. So that's that incremental growth and transformation is how you have to do it, just like you do any change.
There's another question about starting with just one app or application. And is it best to start with the 5S, or does it really, I mean, I know this is about the 5S, but does it, matter where you start? Where's the quickest hit?
Well, in our case, it doesn't matter because we have lots of these different solutions. Everything is based on the single platform. So as you add more and more blocks, the entire thing understands itself. And I would say that that's critical as you go after a process. Make sure you choose a platform that does that. But it really doesn't matter. I would say go after the thing that everybody would feel has the most value. Sometimes it's a digital stand-up board, like an SQDC board, where your line managers are just putting in the end of shift and you're able to calculate OEE and basic performance metrics. Sometimes it's just, I need visibility. And that's the kind of thing that can take a few weeks to implement and you get huge value out of. And then you're also getting your team to focus on core metrics. So 5S is just an example. You may find that you've got some good metrics, but you're not having consistent implementation of fixes. So a Gemba walk with action management may be the most critical thing for you. So again, I don't think it matters. It really matters about where the most value can be driven in your organization.
Well, let's talk about value because the next question is about that. So how do you measure the ROI for the transition to AI/digital based processes? So how do you measure it? And can you maybe use data captured through your digital operations system, or, what's the best way to really quantify that ROI?
Yeah. So the main metrics like, OEE quality, first time quality, those kinds of metrics are well known and well understood in manufacturing. And you can have a consultant help you with defining those metrics in your organization. We have resources as well. We love to support consultants with software. But the way you get the ROI is through each of those. You can track, scrap. You're tracking scrap. You can come up with the ROI. If we can lower our scrap by 2%, and that's 700 products, et cetera, that means X amount of material savings, X amount of rework time savings, X amount of new products that can be sold time. And you can put together those numbers very rapidly that show that ROI. And that ROI comes with digital. But if you think of digitization and AI as kind of two steps in the same bucket, meaning you're moving to digitization. You've got to get out of Excel. You got to get out of paper because you can't really get the benefits of the collaborative and transformation of process improvement in the organization if you're running on paper. Once you make that step to digitization, the AI is just a co-pilot. It's a terrific helper to any of those processes because it sort of supercharges them and help your users who and every one of us only have expertise where we have expertise. And so AI provides this co-pilot to add additional expertise and make sure that you're more successful with any of those processes. But, the way to get the ROI is to look at, which process you're going to go after, which improvement that's going to make, if it's going to keep the line up and running, if it's going to provide, better scrap, better quality. Each one of those has an ROI that can be calculated based on your business. Now, that's a little bit of a calculation work, but if, you speak with your vendor, go through the change that you need to get to make this make sense. And then generally beyond the software side, there's generally with the consultant side, not only the calculation of what would happen, but also someone there to do the coaching and training to help your team make that transformation. And you want to keep that tight so it's not hugely expensive, but that can be really critical as well to help the team really get that value proposition out of the software transformation.
So last question, you talk about ROI. ROI is also about the investment. So sometimes, I think a lot of people think this can be really expensive to implement. If you're transforming your whole manufacturing plant over to digital and AI, how do you look at the cost associated with this, at least with this kind of solutions you're talking about with Praxie?
Yeah, so as a vendor, we deal with that all the time. The ROI has to be very fast. We try to get it, often when we're talking with customers, and I don't think this is about Praxie, this is about software in general. You want a sub 1 year return on investment. If you spend $100,000, you want to get that money back in less than a year. When I was at SAP, we would do business cases, et cetera. It's incredibly expensive. You can do amazing things at a worldwide scale with it. But most mid-sized manufacturers, what you need is, we need to reduce scrap. We need to improve quality. These things can be very focused. The expense is not high. One of our taglines is 10 times faster at 1/10 the cost. And I saw that at SAP, that it prevents, and it's a fabulous product, but the cost structure prevents you from taking that first step just because it's out of the question. And so what we try to do, and if you find other vendors that do this for you, is define the ROI on this particular item, get a price that, we try to get sub 6 months return, because because our implementation is fast, it's inexpensive comparatively to any of these other solutions, and get your ROI. The one thing I would say about ROI, often companies think that they're just using their IT team to do it is cheaper. The reality is that it's not. You end up tying up a resource that then takes 6 to 12 months to build you something that's very bespoke and very fragile, and then they spend half their time managing that thing that you had them built. And so you now have a full-time employee or a half-time resource. So you're spending, a lot of money every year, not only with infrastructure, maintaining, et cetera, versus getting somebody to build it for you. If you're going to build it, your choices are off the shelf. And if you can find it off the shelf that does exactly what you want, buy it. Our experience is on the shop floor that these things are highly configured because every organization is different. So we try, what we do is provide a highly tailored, absolutely custom solution very fast and very inexpensively. That's where we thought there was a huge opportunity. The other choices are go, to SAP or Salesforce or NetSuite and have them configure something. It'll be very powerful, but a lot more expensive. And then or go something custom where you either do your IT or you hire somebody out, some side custom. And honestly, my view is that's probably the most expensive because it has so many hidden costs that people don't realize that they're spending because they've got, a guy or gal who's already on their team. But what you're sacrificing is all the other stuff they could be doing. And generally, you'll end up with adding more people because the IT, I don't know any group of IT people in manufacturing goes, oh, we got lots of extra resource. I've never been at a manufacturer where they go, we got tons of extra maintenance resource, everything is everywhere. So it's a bad choice to go with IT, even though they're terrific. It's not from the soft, they should be maintaining your systems and providing real value in other areas.
Great. Thank you, Michael. So I just put into the chat an email where you can get more information about Praxie, info@praxie.com. Or you can contact Michael directly. Michael makes himself very available to discuss where we're going, the solutions, media opportunities, anything else. We are going to continue to do these manufacturing webinars, looking at the future of manufacturing from various technology angles, as well as the human factors that go into success with your manufacturing processes. So thank you everyone for joining us. We will keep you on our list and hope to see you next time as well.